Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. My brother-in-law slides his palm higher on my thigh under the table, and my whole body locks. I'm Emily, 27, and in that moment I forget how to breathe. Everyone around us laughs at some story and forks hit plates in quick bursts. Under the cloth, his fingers press down once like a test, like he is asking what I will let slide. I jerk my leg back a little and pretend I just shifted to get comfortable. He follows without looking down, his hand gliding forward again like my body is his armrest. Now when I replay it in my head, it looks casual and practiced and safe for him. In that second, though, I tell myself it is clumsy and harmless because that story feels easier to live with. He leans in like he is trying to hear my husband better, but his mouth ends up right next to my ear. "You look amazing tonight," he murmurs so low I almost feel it more than I hear it. My husband is across from us telling a joke and people lean toward him. No one even glances our way. I laugh too loud at nothing and tilt my head away, hoping he backs off without forcing me to spell it. That is the first moment I realize he is not just being playful, he is aiming straight at me. My cheeks burn and I stare at my glass like it suddenly became interesting enough to crawl into. If I push his arm away in front of everyone, I create drama, and I already know how that ends. So I stay still and let my muscles shake instead, and he takes that silence like permission. He cracks another joke about work and everyone at the table laughs while his thumb traces slow lines above my knee. From the outside, it probably looks like we are just sitting close, and that thought almost makes me angry now. Back then, I kept scanning faces for any sign that someone noticed, that someone might call him out. Every single person just smiles at him and passes another dish, while my hands dig into my own legs under the table. I inch my chair back and cross my legs tight, hoping the new angle breaks his reach. He drops his napkin with this fake, clumsy laugh and bends down between us. His shoulder bumps my hip and his fingers skim my calf once, like we just brushed by accident in a crowded hallway. I feel the difference though, that tiny extra second where his touch lingers on purpose. "Excuse me," I mumble as I stand up so fast my chair hits the wall. A few heads turn and my husband gives me a quick frown, then lets it go when I force a smile. I mutter something about the bathroom and hope no one asks questions. As I walk away, I feel his eyes on my back like a hand that never lifted. Inside the bathroom, I brace my palms on the sink and stare down, breathing in sharp bursts that barely feel like air. It would be so easy to walk back out and announce what he is doing, to rip the mask off right here. The problem is I already hear the pushback in my head, already see the faces twisting into confusion and irritation. "He was just joking," that is what they will say. I know I am not ready to step into that fight yet. When I return to the table, my chair is exactly where I left it, his napkin folded neat again on his lap. He looks up at me with this concerned big brother expression and asks if I am okay, like nothing strange just happened. I tell him I am fine and sit down again, and the moment my legs slide under the table, his hand returns. He gives one slow squeeze like we share some secret, and I realize he is betting on my silence. I smile on cue and let the conversation pull me along, but my skin crawls and nerves stay tuned to that hand. Back then, I tell myself this is a one-time slip, something I can forget once the night ends. Now I know it was the opening move, and everyone at that table was already trained to look the other way. I slam the car door and grip the handle so tight my fingers sting. He buckles his seat belt in one quick motion and checks his mirrors like this is any other night. My heartbeat is way too loud in that tiny space, and I know if I stay quiet now I will swallow this forever. So I blurt it out before we even leave the driveway. "Your brother kept putting his hand on my leg." The words drop between us and hang there, thicker than the air. He pauses 1 second, then turns the key and backs up like he did not really hear me. I repeat it again, slower this time, and my voice shakes in a way that annoys me. "What are you talking about?" He glances over, quick and sharp, then looks straight ahead again. He gives this short laugh that sounds more nervous than amused, and it makes my stomach twist. "You mean at dinner, right?" Yeah, at dinner and not just once. I describe how his palm moved higher, how his thumb pressed down like he owned the space. I mention the way he leaned in and murmured in my ear so no one else could catch it. My husband lets out a long breath through his nose like I have just handed him a late bill. Come on, that is not what happened. He shakes his head once and his mouth pulls into a tig. HD line. He starts talking about how his brother is always too familiar with everyone and how he never means anything by it. The way he says it makes it sound like I am accusing a puppy of biting on purpose. I stare at the side of his face and feel this flash of anger cut through the shame. He was not just bumping into me, I say, he stayed there. I can hear my own speech speeding up and it makes me feel desperate and guilty at the same time. He keeps one hand on the wheel and rubs his forehead with the other like he has a headache now. You're reading into it. He throws that out there with this tired tone like we have had this fight 100 times. If he did anything weird, you would have moved right away, right? So obviously it was not that bad. That line hits harder than the rest. Because I did move, just not in a way that made a scene, and now somehow that counts against me. I tell him I shifted my chair back, that I got up and went to the bathroom. He shrugs and mutters that it just sounds like normal crowding at a busy table. He asks why I did not pull away and say something loud enough for everyone to notice. There is this edge in his voice now, like I am making his night complicated on purpose. I remind him his brother was whispering compliments in my ear while we were sitting there. You look amazing tonight, that line replaying in my skull like a stuck song. He snorts and shakes his head again, harder this time. He probably meant it in a friendly way, that is all. You know how he drinks at these things, he pushes boundaries and then forgets about it. He is not some creep hitting on you. The word creep lands with a thud because that is exactly how it felt. I tell him his brother watched me walk away like he was proud of himself. That his hand came back every time I tried to move. He tightens his grip on the wheel and his jaw works like he is chewing back the next sentence. Look, you're making it sound way more dramatic. His voice drops flat and careful, which is somehow worse than if he yelled. Do you really want to throw around that kind of accusation about my brother? In the car, my throat goes dry because I know that word is the real problem for him. Traffic slows and we roll up to a red light and it almost feels like the whole world is listening. I could drop it and pretend this was nothing. I can feel that option sitting right there. Or I can push again and risk being the villain in my own story. So I push. I tell him I felt trapped at that table, that I only laughed because I panicked. My eyes sting and I hate that tears show up right when I need to sound steady. He looks over and his face softens for half a second, then hardens again like he flipped a switch. You are overreacting, he says, and the light turns green. Those 3 words hit harder than anything his brother did. Because if the person next to you decides you are exaggerating, where do you even go with that? I lean back against the seat and stare out at streetlights sliding by in a blur. My chest feels heavy and small at the same time, like someone tightened a strap around my ribs. He keeps talking about how his family is close and how jokes sometimes cross lines. He reminds me that his brother has always been supportive and that he would never do something truly disrespectful. He asks if maybe I am just tired or stressed and that made everything feel worse. Every word smooths over what happened like he is sanding it down until it disappears. By the time we pull into our driveway, my voice is completely gone. He turns off the engine and sits there for a beat, then looks at me with this careful expression. Can we please not blow this up into some huge thing? You know how my parents would react if you said anything. There it is, the unspoken rule laid out between us. I nod because arguing more in that moment feels pointless and I am exhausted. He takes that nod as agreement, not surrender, and leans over to kiss my cheek in this quick automatic gesture. My skin pulls away before my brain can stop it, and his eyes flicker with something I do not like. We get out and walk inside like nothing happened, and he goes straight to the living room. I hear the TV click on and his laughter float back a few minutes later, light and easy again. I stand alone in the hallway and stare at the closed door, my hand still on my bag strap. That is the night I understand how fast a person can disappear inside their own marriage. He reaches the front steps the same time I do and blocks the doorway. Long arms spread across the frame like he is playfully guarding it. "You're late, troublemaker." He grins down at me, then looks over my outfit in one slow sweep that makes my stomach flip. "Move, I need to get through." I try to slip past on the right. He shifts the same way, so we almost collide chest to chest. His laugh comes out low and pleased, way too pleased for a simple greeting. I angle left and push my should. Against his, harder than I mean to. He finally steps aside with both hands up like he is surrendering. "Relax, I am only messing around." As I pass, his fingers trail along the small of my back in a quick, deliberate brush. Inside, voices and music swallow us, and for a minute I manage to disappear into the noise. I hug relatives, grab a drink, pretend I am just another guest. I catch my husband across the room, and we exchange a quick look that says nothing and everything. We both know we are not talking about last time, and that agreement hangs between us. "You really dressed up today." His brother appears at my elbow like he teleported. His gaze lingers on my chest before he meets my eyes. "Guess you did not dress like this for the rest of them." My hand tightens around the cup until the lid creaks. "Thanks," I mutter, trying to sound bored instead of rattled. I shift my weight so a small table is between us. He just leans in closer, elbows on the edge like I invited him. We end up in a loose circle with a few cousins, everyone talking over everyone. He stands behind me, almost pressed against my back. Each time he laughs, his breath hits the side of my neck, hot and smug. Nobody reacts, nobody even glances at the space between us. A story lands about some coworker hitting on someone at the gym. Everyone groans and calls the guy a creep. Behind me, his brother chuckles right in my ear. "Some people need to relax and take a compliment, you know." My shoulders snap tight and I step forward out of his reach. The group shifts and closes the gap without noticing. I laugh along like it is not aimed at me, like I did not hear the dig. Inside, something sharp clicks into place, this sick little awareness that he knows exactly what he is doing. I slip away toward the kitchen under the excuse of needing more food. His wife is at the counter arranging plates, humming under her breath. She smiles when she sees me and pulls me into a side hug. "You surviving the chaos, or do we need to fake an emergency call?" This is the window where I could tell her everything straight. Instead, I test the water like a coward because I already expect the burn. "Your husband is very hands-on," I joke, trying to sound casual and teasing. "He nearly tackled me in the doorway earlier." She laughs right away, head thrown back, genuinely amused. "Yeah, that tracks. He is way too friendly. Half the time I am swatting him away from people. You should see him at parties, he is a nightmare." I push a little harder, feeling my pulse climb anyway. "Does it ever go too far, though? Like, does he ever cross a line where you want to smack him?" The words come out light, but my chest feels heavy as bricks. She pauses just long enough to stir anxiety, then shrugs. "He likes attention, but he would never actually cheat. He flirts and then forgets 10 minutes later. Honestly, I would be more worried if he suddenly turned polite." I laugh along and it sounds wrong in my own ears. "So if he was, I do not know, too close with someone, you would what?" The question lands between us and hangs there. She frowns, then waves it off like I asked about weather. "If something real happened, you would tell me, right?" She taps the counter with a nail while she watches my face. Because I know how dramatic people can get over nothing. One small thing happens and suddenly they act like victims. My stomach plunges at that word, even though she does not aim it directly. I hear my husband in that tone, his parents, the whole family in one voice. "You are making it bigger than it is." The script is already written, I am just deciding whether to step into it. "Yeah, of course," I answer, throat tight. "If something serious happened, I would absolutely come straight to you." The lie tastes bitter and cheap, but I smile while I say it. Her face relaxes and she turns back to the food, crisis neatly avoided in her mind. We carry dishes out together, arms full, doing the normal thing. As soon as we step into the living room, I feel him there. Like a radar ping, my skin picks up his location before my eyes do. He stands across the room already watching, like he was waiting for me to reappear. He crosses over before I can retreat, cheerful and loud for everyone else. He reaches past me for a plate and his hand brushes my hip, then lingers a beat. Oops, excuse me, he chuckles as if I bumped him. The contact is quick enough to look harmless, long enough to make my stomach churn. Someone cracks a joke about us hogging the snacks and the room erupts in laughter. I glance at my husband, desperate for some hint he notices the pattern. He is busy opening a drink, smiling at his brother like nothing is off at all. That tiny scene says more than any long conversation could. I start counting every little touch he steals as the night drags on. His palm sliding across my shoulder when he reaches behind me. His knee knocking mine when he squeezes into a seat B. Beside me again. Each one small, each one deniable, all of them stacking up in my chest. By the end of the evening, I feel wrung out and wired at the same time. From the outside, it probably looked like a normal family hangout. People ate, joked, scrolled on their phones, cleaned up. Inside my head, though, something ugly has shifted and locked into place. Walking to the car later, my husband loops his arm around my waist. "You did good tonight," he murmurs, like I just passed some unspoken test. I force a smile and lean into him, because fighting here would be useless. What I do instead is make a quiet promise to myself that next time I will not let him pretend this is harmless. My phone lights up on the nightstand and drags me out of that shallow almost sleep. I reach for it with one lazy hand, expecting some pointless notification. His name is at the top of the screen, and that detail snaps me fully awake. Under it, one line glows back at me. "You look so good tonight, I could barely focus on anything else." My heart slams so hard it feels like the mattress shakes. For a second I actually check the number, like my eyes might be lying. It is his contact, his picture, no doubt at all. The time in the corner reads past midnight, long after everyone went home. Before I can decide what to do, another message pops up. "Been thinking about how you looked in that dress way too much." This one hits lower because there is no way to spin that as innocent. My thumb hovers over the keyboard while my brain scrambles for a safe script. I do not answer. I just stare at the words until they blur a little. A third text lands a few seconds later, and this one strips away any last doubt. "I keep picturing my hand on your thigh again, want more than that next time." It is like the air in the room shifts, heavier and colder at once. I can hear my husband breathing beside me, slow and deep, completely out. If I make a sound right now, everything changes in one blow. If I say nothing, I am alone with this garbage. The messages sit there, ugly and bright, waiting for a reply. I pull in one long breath and force my hand to move. Not to respond, but to screenshot. My finger taps 3 times in quick bursts while my pulse thunders. Right after I save them, the thread refreshes. "You unsent a message," the app flashes, then again. He is deleting fast, like someone who realized he pushed too far. The one about my thigh vanishes from the chat, but it is already in my gallery. Another bubble appears, all fake surprise and damage control. "Wow, wrong person, that was not meant for you." A fourth text follows before I can even roll my eyes. "Please ignore that, totally embarrassing, I am half asleep." That last part almost makes me laugh, this short bitter draw of air. He is sober enough to clean his trail in real time. I type out 3 different responses and erase every single one. Anything I send becomes part of his story later, and I know it. In the end, I leave the chat open and do nothing. The read receipt sits under his last excuse like a quiet accusation. He stops texting, which somehow feels worse than if he kept pushing. Like he is confident the silence means he still holds the upper hand. I set the phone face down and stare at the ceiling in the dark. My body is exhausted, my brain is sprinting laps. If I wake my husband now, I drag him straight into this raw moment. If I wait until morning, he gets a calmer version and way more room to wriggle. I tell myself I will sleep and handle it at a decent hour. My eyes stay wide open while the night crawls by around me. Every few minutes I reach over and check the screenshots again, just to be sure. Like the proof might dissolve if I stop looking. When the alarm finally blares, my chest already aches from no rest. He rolls over, kisses my forehead, completely unaware of the storm waiting. I watch his face for a second and almost bail on the whole thing. Then I remember the line about his hand, and that kills the urge to protect his comfort. I catch him in the kitchen when it is just the two of us. We move around each other in that familiar morning dance. At the last second, I step right into his path and hold my phone out. "I need you to see something," I say, and my voice sounds strange. He frowns, wipes his fingers on a towel, takes the phone. The first screenshot fills the screen, then the next. His eyes flick back and forth across the messages, slower at the worst parts. A muscle jumps in his cheek, then goes still. This has to be a mistake. He scrolls up and down like more context will magically appear. Maybe he meant to send this to someone else, that must be it. His tone shifts into that patient mode that makes me feel crazy. I point at the order on the screen, one by one. Compliment, follow-up about the dress, the line about my leg. Then the deletes, then the oops, wrong person. My hand shakes, but I keep it there until he actually low. "Okays. You screenshotted these." He focuses on that instead, eyebrows lifting like that is the shocking part. "Why would you even do that? Do you realize how intense that looks?" His gaze lifts from the phone to my face, cooler now. "Because last time you did not believe me," that slips out before I can soften it. His expression tightens like I slapped him. "So now you're collecting evidence against my family, is that it?" He drops the phone on the counter, not hard but deliberate. The word evidence hangs there like a bad smell. I tell him I needed something I could point to, something he could not brush off. My throat feels raw, and I have not even raised my voice. He lets out a short laugh with no humor in it and looks away. "You are twisting this." He leans back against the counter, arms folded, shutting down. He jokes with everyone he drinks, he sends dumb texts, that is who he is. You jumping straight to worst case is what is creating drama. That part makes me dizzy because the words on the screen are right there. I remind him of the specific sentence about wanting more next time. He shrugs and says it could still be meant for someone else. Or he could have been joking and then panicked and tried to erase it. "You know what this looks like from his side," my husband continues. "You did not answer, you saved it, you are bringing it to me. If he finds out you kept those screenshots, he will feel attacked. Then my family is stuck in the middle of some ugly fight." The part where I feel violated does not seem to register at all. I tell him his brother knew exactly which contact he pressed. He tells me I am acting like a detective in my own house. Like the real problem is my reaction, not the messages. He reaches for the phone again and opens the gallery. "Delete them," he mutters, "do not hold onto something that can blow this up." I grab the device back faster than I mean to and step away. The look he gives me then is new, a mix of shock and warning. "No," I say softer than I feel inside. "I am not erasing proof he crossed a line with me." We stare at each other, neither of us blinking, the kitchen suddenly too small. In that stare, I realize we are on opposite sides now, not partners. He breaks eye contact first and runs a hand through his hair. "Fine, do what you want, just do not drag everyone into it." He picks up his keys, voice flat, and tells me he cannot be late. The door shuts behind him while the screenshots burn in my pocket. That morning is when something simple but brutal settles in my chest. If I wanted anyone in that family to admit the truth, I would need more than quiet conversations. I would need moments they could not spin away from, even if it meant setting myself on fire in front of them. And somewhere in that thought, the next gathering stops being just another visit and starts to feel like a countdown. His fingers close around my wrist before I reach the back door. I freeze halfway through the kitchen, music thumping behind us. "Come outside with me," he murmurs, breath heavy with alcohol. "We need to clear the air, right?" I try to pull free, not hard enough to make a scene yet. "I have to check on something," I mutter, eyes on the floor. He tightens his grip just enough to hurt. "Relax, nobody is watching us," he adds, which is exactly the problem. He pushes the door open with his shoulder and steers me onto the patio. Cool air hits my face like a slap and I suck in a sharp breath. Inside, people laugh and shout over some story, completely oblivious. Out here it is just me, him, and the thud in my chest. He lets go of my wrist and leans back against the railing, too casual. "You keep dodging me, you know that." His words stumble a little, but his eyes are laser-focused. Like he has been waiting for this exact corner. I stay near the door, hand on the handle like a lifeline. "I am not dodging you," I answer, "I am trying to avoid drama." His mouth twists into a crooked smile that never reaches his eyes. "You are the one who started drama, sweetheart." That word makes my skin crawl. I remind him we are married into the same family, that he needs to back off. He pushes off the railing and steps closer, closing half the distance. If I wanted you, really wanted you, you would not talk like that. My stomach flips in a way that has nothing to do with attraction. He is close enough now that I can smell the alcohol on his breath. You think I text every woman like that, he continues, voice low and eager. I do not waste my time on people I do not actually want. I glance through the glass, desperate for any pair of eyes turned this way. Everyone is facing the opposite direction, lost in their own conversations. He notices and chuckles under his breath. They cannot hear us. Relax, we are good. I straighten my shoulders, fingers still white-knuckled on the handle. You sent those messages, I say, you kept touching me at these things. He rolls his eyes like I just recited a boring list. You loved the attention, stop pretending you did not notice me. That line hits so hard I actually sway. I did notice, that is the whole issue, that is why I am out here now. He steps in again, cutting off my retreat, shoulder brushing the doorframe. We could have a good time if you stopped acting holy, he whispers. There it is, no more gray area, nothing fuzzy. I can feel every muscle in my body humming with adrenaline. Move, I tell him, or I am walking back in and saying this out loud. He grins wider like I just upped the stakes on his favorite game. Go ahead, he challenges, see who they believe. He taps his own chest, then points toward the house. Me the screw-up big brother, or you the emotional one? His voice drips confidence, and that scares me more than the words. He reaches for my waist, fingers hooking into the fabric, pulling me closer. My body slams into his and my brain just snaps. Get off me, I shout louder than I meant, loud enough to slice the noise inside. The word off ricochets against the glass like a thrown rock. The music dies down like someone hit a switch. Heads turn toward the patio, faces appearing in the doorway. He still has one hand on me when my husband steps into view. Every pair of eyes lands on the space between us and stays there. I jerk backwards so hard his hand slips away. My back hits the door and rattles it in the frame. What the hell are you doing, I demand, voice shaking and sharp. My chest heaves and I am very aware that everyone is listening. He blinks once, then his posture changes in an instant. He throws his hands up and takes a stumbling step back. Whoa, you misunderstood, he calls out, suddenly loud and wounded. I was just making sure you were okay out here. My husband barrels through the doorway, jaw tight. What is going on? His eyes dart from me to his brother. I open my mouth, but the brother gets there first. She is worked up, man, must have had more to drink than we thought. That line knocks the air out of me harder than any shove. I spit out, that is not true, he dragged me out here and grabbed me. A murmur ripples through the family, crowding around the door. My husband looks at my empty hands, then at my face, then back at his brother. Seriously, I was checking on her, the brother continues, voice rough and jumpy. She looked upset earlier, I thought we could talk privately. He gives this choked little laugh that sounds almost hurt. I joked around and she flipped out like I attacked her. Those texts you sent, I fire back, you remember those? The group shifts, shoulders bumping, eyes narrowing. I sent them to the wrong person, he answers quickly like they rehearsed that line. I apologized, you never responded, now you're pulling this. You kept putting your hands on me at every gathering. My voice cracks and I hate it, but I keep going. You were whispering in my ear, touching my legs, cornering me. I point straight at him, hands trembling, daring anyone to pretend they did not hear. His wife steps forward, face pale but steady. Are you saying my husband is trying to cheat with you? Her gaze is cold and sharp, slicing right through any nuance. Because that is a huge accusation to throw at a family party. I do not even get to answer before his mother jumps in. You must be under a lot of stress, honey. She reaches out like she wants to pat my arm and comfort me. Nobody here has ever seen him behave like a predator. That word makes my lungs seize for a second. Predator, not flirt, not idiot, big jump, easy to deny. He grabs onto it like a lifeline. While that is what you think I am, he blurts, eyes wide and shiny. He staggers back a step and runs a hand through his hair, playing to the crowd. I send a couple dumb messages, I check on you outside, now I am a threat. He lets out a harsh sound that could pass as a broken laugh. I would never hurt you, you know that, he adds, looking straight at me. That last part feels aimed more at the audience than at me. I scan their faces and see confusion, irritation, pity, everything but outrage for me. My husband rubs his forehead like the whole thing is a migraine. Can we all calm down, he mutters, eyes closing for a second too long. Calm down sets me off again. I throw my arms out toward the patio. This is me calm, I snap, he literally had his hands on me 30 seconds ago. My voice cracks on the last word and I hear someone suck in a breath. You are blowing this out of proportion, my husband mutters, not quite looking at me. His brother nods quickly like they share a brain. Exactly, now she is shouting in front of everyone and I look like the bad guy. He laughs once, bitter and forced, and it lands exactly where he wants it. A cousin shifts his weight and glances between us. Did anyone else actually see anything, he asks, softer than the rest. The question hangs heavy and decisive. No one steps up because of course no one was watching until I yell. Ed. I feel this cold clarity roll through me. He chose a corner with no witnesses and then waited for me to react. Now the story is about my reaction, not his hand. I realize I walk straight into the script he built. His father clears his throat and finally speaks. We are family, we do not tear each other apart over misunderstandings. He looks at me like I am the wild card, not his oldest kid. If something felt uncomfortable, you should have pulled away and told us quietly. I laugh short and sharp and nothing like humor. I did pull away, I did tell someone, that part comes out through gritted teeth. My eyes flick to my husband for half a second. His face shuts down even more, which somehow hurts worse than if he yelled. His brother softens his features, playing remorseful now. If I crossed any line, I am sorry, he says, hands over his heart. I thought we were joking around, I never meant for you to feel unsafe. He glances at the others, then back at me, like he just nailed the perfect apology. The words safe and sorry swirl around like smoke, thin and slippery. Part of me wants to accept them, if only to stop shaking. The rest of me knows that accepting this version means erasing the texts and the cornering. Knows it means living with his palm on my body again someday. My husband steps closer and lowers his voice, aiming it at me. Can we handle this later, he whispers, people are staring. His fingers brush my elbow in a gentle squeeze that feels like a warning. That touch says shut this down, not I am on your side. I pull my arm away like it burns. No, we are not shelving this for later, I say, my tone flat and clear. He flinches, just a tiny twitch at the corner of his mouth. Around us the family shifts, waiting to see if I explode or fold. For a second I picture myself walking inside, grabbing my bag, leaving. I imagine doing it without another word, just letting the door slam behind me. The fantasy tastes like freedom and loss at the same time. Because I know if I leave now, their version hardens into the official story. So I stay right there on the patio with my voice shaking and my hands empty. I do not forgive, I do not smile, I do not accept his fake regret. I hold his gaze and let the silence stretch until it feels like something might tear. And in that stretched out moment, I realize I am not the one these people are afraid of losing. He locks the car doors and stares through the windshield like the driveway is miles long. You really had to scream like that. The first words land heavy, not even a question. My hand is still shaking against my leg, but I do not tuck it away this time. I told him to get off me, I answer, my voice low but sharp. If I had stayed quiet, you would still think nothing was wrong. He lets out a harsh breath and taps the steering wheel once. You embarrassed everyone out there, he mutters, like that is the injury that counts. He starts listing who looked upset, who had to step in, who will call him later. His brother's name keeps sliding in there like a victim, not the guy who grabbed me. You turned a private disagreement into a show, he continues, and that word private makes my skin crawl. There was nothing private about his hands on me in front of a glass door. I lean back and stare at him until he finally meets my eyes. You watched him corner me and still think this is about my tone. He flinches, then recovers, shoulders rising like a shield. I saw you yelling, he answers, I did not see anything else. That sentence sits between us like a line drawn in concrete. You did not want to see, I shoot back, because that would mean picking a side. His mouth tightens and he reaches for the keys again. "You are twisting everything," he says, and the engine growls to life. We drive home with the radio off, the silence louder than any song. Every bump in the road makes my jaw clench. He keeps his eyes straight ahead like if he looks at me too long, something might crack. I count my breaths and try not to cry, because tears always get used against me. Inside, he heads straight for the kitchen and starts loading dishes into the sink. I stand in the hallway with my shoes still on, heat buzzing under my skin. Part of me waits for him to come find me and actually ask what happened. Instead, his phone buzzes on the counter, and he grabs it like a lifeline. Voices from the gathering start pouring through his screen. I hear his mother's name, his brother's name, words like misunderstanding and tension. He answers with short messages, shoulders squared, back turned to me. Every tap of his thumb feels like a tiny door closing. I walk in and set my phone next to his on the counter. "You want to clear it up," I say, show them the screenshots. He stiffens and glances at the gallery, icon like it is a grenade. "That is not helping anyone right now," he replies, tone clipped and careful. "So that is it. The one solid thing I have is officially off limit." Yes. I laugh once, a small broken sound that startles even me. "Good to know what counts as protecting the family," I say, and leave the room before I scream. In our bedroom, I pull a bag from the closet and drop it on the bed. Not a huge suitcase, just enough space to scare him if he walks in. I start tossing clothes inside in fast, clumsy handfuls, not thinking about outfits, just escape. My heartbeat calms a little as the bag fills, which tells me way too much. He appears in the doorway before I finish. "What are you doing?" I look up and let him see the bag, the pile of shirts, the shoes on the floor. "I am giving both of us room to breathe," I answer, even though breathing is not really the point. "You are running away." He steps closer, hands spread, as if I might bolt out the window. "Over one bad night and a bunch of mixed signals." The phrase "mixed signals" makes something in me snap clean in two. "His hand was on me," I say, steady now, not yelling. "He sent those messages, he cornered me tonight where no one could see." You watch me fight him off and still worry more about his feelings than mine. If that is mixed to you, we are not living in the same story. He drops onto the edge of the bed like his legs gave out. "I am not defending him," he insists. "I am trying to keep this from exploding." "You are my wife," he adds, like that should settle everything. "Then act like I am," I tell him, because right now I feel like a problem to manage. For a long minute, we just listen to each other breathe. Finally, he drags a hand over his face and tries another angle. "What do you want me to do, cut off my own brother?" The way he phrases it tells me what he thinks of that option. I focus on the bag so I do not start shouting again. "I want you to stop pretending this is some fuzzy misunderstanding. I want you to tell him what he did was wrong and that it will not happen again. And yeah, if he cannot handle that, I want distance, real distance." He stares at the floor, jaw working, like he is chewing every word I just said. "That will destroy my parents," he whispers. My brother barely keeps himself together as it is. He looks up at me with these tired, pleading eyes. "Can we not call it assault and just say he crossed a line?" he asks, like the label is the real injury. I realize then that he is negotiating vocabulary while I am trying to feel safe. That difference feels huge and stupid and somehow final. I zip the bag halfway and leave it standing open, like a question mark on the mattress. His gaze tracks it like it might swallow me. The next morning, my phone lights up before I get out of bed. A group chat churns with long blocks of text, all from his side of the family. Phrases jump out at me. "Spiraled." "Misunderstood tone." "Sensitive subject." His brother adds one neat line about being concerned for my emotional state. He walks in while I scroll and watches my face. "They are worried about you," he says quietly, "not about what happened. You could answer and calm everyone down, you know." My thumb hovers over the keyboard, but I do not type a single word. Instead, I open a separate thread and pull up his brother's contact. My hands are steady in a way they have not been in days. "Do not message me again. Do not touch me again. If you do, I will send everything I have to the whole family." I hit send before I can water it down. A minute later, the typing bubble flickers on his side, then vanishes, then returns. You are blowing this way out of proportion, he writes. I was trying to be friendly. I block the number and archive the chat while his message is still fresh. It feels reckless and small at the same time. Like locking a door when the whole house has no roof. Still, my chest loosens a fraction, enough to pull in a full breath. My husband watches me, eyebrows up, like I just pulled a pin out of something unstable. So that is how you are handling it, he says, half disbelief, half judgment. I am handling it the only way anyone seems willing to hear, I answer. You do not want to show them proof, they do not want to see it, so I am done chasing their comfort. He shakes his head, but he does not grab the phone out of my hand this time. For a few days, we move around each other like strangers sharing a hallway. He works late, I stay in the bedroom with the door mostly closed. At night, we lie on opposite sides of the mattress, not touching, not speaking. The quiet between us feels heavier than any argument we have ever had. One evening, he stands in the doorway while I fold laundry onto the bed. I made an appointment, he says, staring at the floor. Couples counselor next week, maybe they can help us figure this out. The word help lands somewhere between hopeful and desperate. Old me would have grabbed that offer like a rope. Now all I hear is what he did not say. He does not mention boundaries with his brother, does not mention keeping me away from the next gathering. He wants someone new. Trial to smooth this into something the family can live with. I nod once because I am not against help in general. But I also pick up my bag from the corner and set it on the bed again. Tonight I tell him I am staying at a friend's place. His head snaps up like he did not believe I would actually use it. That seems extreme, he blurts, taking a step toward me. We are already doing the work, why make it worse? I pause, hand on the zipper, and look him dead in the eye. It got this bad because I kept minimizing everything to keep the peace. He does not have an answer for that, not a real one. He opens his mouth, closes it, runs his tongue over his teeth. Finally, he just nods once, faint and tight. Do what you think you need to do, he murmurs, and that is the closest thing to permission I get. When I drive away, my fingers tremble on the steering wheel, but I do not turn around. My phone buzzes twice in the cup holder, then again, then stops. I let every notification sit there untouched until I reach the street where my friend lives. Only then do I check just once and see his last message. I wish you trusted me, it reads, I am trying. I stare at that line until my eyes sting. Because the truth is, I wanted that too, wanted it for a long time. But trust is not about the words someone sends after the damage, it is about who they protected when it counted. So that is where I am now. In a borrowed room with my bag on the floor, writing this out on my phone. Married on paper, split in every way that actually matters. One foot still inside the door of that life, the other already pointed toward the exit. Everyone saw enough pieces to know something was off, and they still chose not to really look. His brother tested how far he could push, and the rest of them tested how much silence they could demand. I am done treating my fear like an inconvenience they get to vote on. They can keep their version of events, I am finally keeping myself.